Hi there, it's Ken with Roguedeckbuilder.com here with a new deck tech. Working on this deck for the past 3 days, I think I finally have found the perfect deck list, which has a 65 to 75% chance of going off on turn 1, which is very, very comparable to Charbelcher. And again, I like turn 1s that don't have to rely on like Past in Flames or any sort of dredge type strategy, because Leyline of the Void completely shuts them down. Now, we do have a little bit of a graveyard strategy, but it's not necessary. It just makes the deck a lot more consistent. And what makes this deck so cool is it is a budget deck. You can get all these cards for incredibly cheap. The only cards out of here that are expensive are going to be the Glimpse of Natures, and as well as the, believe it or not, the Lotus Petals. Now, I tried Chrome Mox in this version. I did not like Chrome Mox. The card disadvantage just hurts so much, and therefore I decided just to go with the Lotus Petals, Simian Spirit Guides, and the Elvish Spirit Guides to actually cheat out your first turn, either Glimpse of Nature or Beck Call, and then proceed to draw your entire deck. Now, we are running a 1-of land where the card of choice is Overgrown Tomb. You can go Overgrown Tomb or Breeding Pool, or, of course, the more expensive dual lands. The blue can be used for the Beck. The black can be used for the No Rest for the Wicked or the Tendrils of Agony. And I think that, and blue could be used for Laboratory Maniac. So our two win conditions out of this deck are Tendril of Agony, Laboratory Maniac. And usually you cast them both to win. The cool thing is Tendril of Agony can actually go off without any sort of card draw with a No Rest for the Wicked for getting everything back. Now, No Rest for the Wicked, I wish we had one more X spell, and maybe I'm missing one here if you guys can think of one that is a creature that will come back. No Rest for the Wicked says, it's like eggs. Sacrifice No Rest for the Wicked, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that are put there from the battlefield this turn. These are going to immediately go to the graveyard because they're 0/0s. Wild Cantor is going to be sacrificed. Tinder Walls are going to be sacrificed. And so you have a total of 16 creatures that you can get back from your graveyard to your hand. So it gives you that card draw you absolutely need. Now, the other creatures in here, the Phyrexian Walkers and the Shield Walls, can be replaced with Memnites and Ornithopters if you want. I just like the color of these old school artifacts. You're not going to utilize them for any reason other than just playing them and then drawing cards off of Glimpse of Nature and the Beck Call. So anyway, so it's going to be Glimpse of Nature, Beck Call, first turn. You want to be able to cast one of these. And then that makes all of your creatures cantrip themselves. And if you have two, ideally you want to be able to cantrip and generate mana to cast 2 Glimpses or a Beck Call and a Glimpse or whatnot, or No Rest for the Wicked and a Glimpse, and then you'll have enough card advantage to go off. Now, to help us fix our mana, what is really, really necessary in here is the Wild Cantors and the Manamorphose. So that's why the Simian Spirit Guides are in here. You can actually sacrifice them for the red. Tinderwall is also in here because you can sacrifice it for the red to either cast Manamorphose or Wild Cantor. Summoner's Pack is by far the most powerful card. You always want to see this in your opening hand because it gives you so many options. Either go get an Elvish Spirit Guide, to go get a Tinderwall, to go get a Wild Cantor. So all of these things are very, very necessary for the deck to actually function. And again, that's just the gist of it. There's decks similar to this that try to go off on turn 1. Like Ant is an ad nauseum deck that tries to go off on turn 1, using Tendril of Agony as the win con as well. But again, that utilizes Past in Flames, and I'm not the biggest fan of Past in Flames in this format. And if I would think that this deck would be like, the most similar deck that this is probably like is a hybrid between like Legacy Elves, as you're trying to draw all your cards through creatures, and Charbelcher, because Charbelcher it's like a one-trick pony. You're trying to go off on turn 1 and go for a huge Tendril. Now, again, most of the time I am going to rely on casting both Laboratory Maniac and Tendril. The problem with Laboratory Maniac in Legacy is it can be countered by Force of Will, whereas Tendril of Agony can be countered by Mindbreak Trap. And Tendrils can't be countered by Force of Will because it casts copies immediately with Storm. And also Laboratory Maniac can be killed with the Slaughter Pact. So that's why you want 2 win conditions in here, and ideally you don't want to try to win until you have both of them safely in your hand and enough to actually cast them. Now, the sideboard actually needs help. In fact, the sideboard is mostly just a relic of cards that I have used in the past. Before I had Bet Call in here, I had Chalice of the Void. But if you go this Multani's Presence, Chalice of the Void type strategy, what you need to do is you need to add cards like Chrome Mox, because if you get Chalice of the Void and Multani's Presence together, it counters all, you cast Chalice for 0, and it counters all 0 spells. So it actually makes your Lotus Petals cantrip, but it also counters them, and I don't like that in this deck. I don't like having my Lotus Petals countered. I do like having my Chrome Moxes countered later on, because you usually only want one Chrome Mox. It's really hard on the mana base that if you exile a card, or on the card draw, if you actually have to exile a card that you could have used. So a lot of times what ends up happening is I have to use a Chrome Mox and use like a Manamorphose or one of these like Tinder Walls or something that I want to actually cast later on. And Chrome Mox just makes the deck very inconsistent as far as that's concerned. Back to the sideboard, Leyline of the Void is just in here because there's so many graveyard type strategies. Like I said, Ants or the Dredge decks, Leyline of the Void completely shuts down, or at least they have to find a way to deal with Leyline of the Void before they can actually go off. And again, I just have more No Rest for the Wicked in the sideboard just because I haven't really fully made a sideboard. Now, again, this is a cheap deck. I'll probably be doing it for Playing on a Budget episode for the upcoming Gathering Magic. But I'm just going to show you how this works here. We're just going to do a solitaire run of this deck. So I will show you exactly how this works. This is not a keepable hand as we have no way to generate mana here. This is unfortunate. Bet Call, of course, is inferior to the Glimpse of Nature, but actually, no, with a Gitaxian Probe and a Summoner's Pack, I think we can not mulligan it. Now, when I am solitaire and you do draw a card, that is going to be actually good card. That we need a mana. We have the Manamorphose, so we have a Phyrexian Walker. We could actually go off here. So the first thing we're going to do is Gitaxian Probe, because that is going to find us more information. Now, we have the Summoner's Pack, so if we don't go off, we lose here. That's the problem with this deck. It's going to go grab an Elvish Spirit Guide because we have to get an Elvish Spirit Guide. Now, the Elvish Spirit Guide has to be exiled to cast a Tinderwall. The Tinderwall can now cast a Manamorphose for double red. The Manamorphose can now add we're going to add a green and a blue just in case we don't want to cast the other. And it's another Tinderwall. I think the other Tinderwall, this actually does ramp us some more mana. Yes, this is actually really good because it ramps us more mana to sacrifice Tinderwall to cast another Manamorphose using the red. And now we can actually go green here because that's all we need. And now we can safely cast a Bet Call. And then now we can actually safely still cast a Wild Cantor, which will draw us a card. And No Rest for the Wicked is going to be very, very good here if we can actually pull it off. So I am a little back on the mana. Like, we can generate 1 mana here, so I could still miss. What we need to hit is a Lotus Bloom, or we need to hit another Tinderwall, or a Gitaxian Probe will at least draw us another card. But we have 1 card to do this. And we have a few outs, though, is the good news. So we can cast this Walker. It gets us a Shifting Wall, which, again, we're still alive. Gives us a Lotus Petal. So now we're back. We're still in this game. Again, we only have 1 draw. I think actually No Rest for the Wicked is probably more powerful because it gets us back a Wild Cantor in hand. Well, we can sacrifice. We can actually generate for Manamorphose here. And we want to generate a black and a green. And there's another Manamorphose. We'll go ahead and cast it for a black and a green. And there's a Glimpse of Nature. So I think we have now 1 more draw with the No Rest for the Wicked. So we're not out of this yet. I wish this would have been one more of our 0 spells that actually kills itself, because you'll see why here. Sacrifice No Rest for the Wicked. We get all these guys back. We have 1 draw to find into a Lotus Petal or a Lotus Petal, a Simian Spirit Guide, an Elvish Spirit Guide, a Gitaxian Probe would have at least drawn us 1 more card. And unfortunately, though, or a Summoner's Pact, so more than half our deck I think would have worked. But unfortunately, we drew another Glimpse, which we are 1 mana down. We need to play a Wild Cantor to actually go Tinderwall, or we'd actually play Wild Cantor and draw another card. But, I mean, we'd still be in a little bit of a risk here of still. We're going to concede this because we would die to the Summoner's Pact, but let's see what we would have drawn. Another Glimpse of Nature. So we ran into that. Overgrown Tomb would have actually worked too. And we would have still been alive. Yeah. So it was close, though. It was definitely close because, yeah, we would have cast Tinderwall. If it would have been Overgrown Tomb, then we would have cast Tinderwall. And then Tinderwall would have sacrificed to actually draw us a card. And what would have came into play, drawn us a card. Then we could have Wild Cantor, drawn a card. And then had a red floating, and eventually, I don't know if we would have still. We'll play one more here. I'm going to do it one more time, see if bet call. This one should be. Again, we needed another way to generate mana, so no, we don't. Let's see if we find one. So good Taxing Probe with Cantrip, and unfortunately, though, we can play a Lotus Petal, and then pass the turn. We'd have one more draw. And now we're okay. Now we're fine. So this would be a turn 2 win because unless, of course, in Legacy they do have a lot of ways to disrupt. So you bet call here. And now all of these are going to Cantrip. And we can Overgrown Tomb. And hopefully we can find something with that Overgrown Tomb. Or something to utilize that Overgrown Tomb. There's a Lotus Petal. So there is a few things that we can just completely miss here. Manamorphose will be fine, but we'll just continue to try to draw cards. I want a Glimpse here. Gitaxian Probe is fine. It just cycles through. Gitaxian Probe is fine. There's the Glimpse. So we can Glimpse in Nature. Now we're a little. Now this Shifting Wall will actually cast 2. And we might just want to Manamorphose, though, because this is our last opportunity to do so with the Manamorphose. And I want to see another spell here. It'll be green, green. I don't think we go for no rest for the wicked. I'm just going to go green, green. And there's a Tinderwall. That will be good because it's something we can actually utilize. I'm glad I went green. So it's going to be Glimpse of Nature, then Tinderwall. Tinderwall is going to actually draw us 2 cards now. And now usually when you have 2 of these out, you hardly ever missed. So we can cast the Phyrexian Walker. It'll draw 2 cards. There's Simian Spirit Guide, which is a little bit weak at this point. Another Glimpse of Nature, which we cannot. Yeah, we cannot quite utilize here. But we'll Shifting Wall for 0. We do need to hit. Yeah, we hit. Okay, so we're still alive. But this is getting scary, though. We need to hit into some non. There we go. That's perfect. So we Manamorphose here, which we can sacrifice Tinderwall and cast Manamorphose. And we will just, again, I'm going to do double Manamorphose. Just actually spend it. And it's going to be a black and a green here. And now we can Lotus Petal. And we can use the Lotus Petal for a green. And actually, we can actually just go exile this for red, and then cast the No Rest for the wicked. So we can just cast Glimpse here. We can cast No Rest for the wicked, use the red, sacrifice it. We get everything back that we put in the graveyard there. So again, now we have 3 draws from all of these guys. And there's another Tinderwall, which we could utilize. We'll use our last Gitaxian Probe. And Glimpse again is fine. Now we have 4 draws per Phyrexian Marauder. And Summoner's Pact can go get us a lot of cool stuff. You can go get us another Wild Cantor. I think we're out of Wild. Nope, we're still finding Wild Cantors. So the probably right play here would be to, yeah, we can Summoner's Pact, go grab an Elvish Spirit Guide, exile the Elvish Spirit Guide to add a green, which goes against Tinderwall, which draws us even more. Now I've got to be worried about my card. I'm down to 21 cards, so I need to cast this Laboratory Maniac as soon as possible. So we're going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go the Manamorphose to add a blue and a green. And then we can just actually just exile this for a red. And we still have a green with Elvish Spirit Guide to cast this Laboratory Maniac. Now the good news is we want a Tendrils and Laboratory. So if they actually deal with Laboratory Maniac, we have another kill condition on board. So here I probably want to, so how can I generate? It's going to be, and can I do it without milling myself here? We're going to exile this for a green. Wild Cantor is going to cast for a green. We get to draw cards and find us. This will go get us another. Do I have another elf? I think I do. No, I don't. Tinderwall. Tinderwall's fine. And I forgot I have people watching here. And what we do is, I mean, I still want a Tendrils here. I still want to somehow get it. See, retract, that's a good point. I tried to retract it at this point too. It brings back all the Phyrexian Walkers and whatnot, but it doesn't bring back like the shifting and whatnot. So you just win here. I don't think I can quite go off. I'm going to try, but I think I'm going to mill myself first and win that way. Because this can generate double red. Do I have another Manamorphose? 1, 2, 3, 3. So I do have one more Manamorphose, which... Where's it at is the thing. We just want to draw... There's 3. This was going to draw 5. So it's going to draw all but... Ugh. So where is that last Manamorphose? Is it really sitting on the top? So I could generate a black... But is there another Lotus Petal? We used our Lotus Petals too. Looks like we did use all our Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal. Oh, is my last 2 cards going to be the... Yeah, I think my last 2 cards, unfortunately, are going to be the... Yeah, is it Lotus Petal? And I guess I did use my other Manamorphose. So anyway, couldn't get the Tendrils off because a lot of times, like I said, you want to get the Tendrils off. And then if they do something against the Tendrils, then you still have the Laboratory Maniac. The problem with Laboratory Maniac is Slaughter Pact is used in Legacy, and if they kill it in response, you just kill yourself. So, yeah. Anyway, this was a turn 2. Turn 1s are possible. Sorry if this seemed a little bit hard to follow. I'm going to do a whole deck playing against people. This has been Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.